2010 was a very busy news year, so as you can imagine, a lot of people ended up in the spotlight. Picking the Michigan Newsmaker of the Year is never easy, but when the voting was finished, one person emerged from the pack. This year, we single out an individual who defied the odds. He left his comfortable position in the business world to enter the rough and tumble world of politics. His message of being one tough nerd who promises to reinvent Michigan resonated with the voters on Election Day.
We need to reinvent Michigan.
As president, he grew Gateway Computers. He's nurtured innovative companies to grand success and has grown thousands of jobs in Michigan and across America. His 10-point plan to reinvent Michigan is so detailed that, well, it's likely no politician could even understand it.
But it's the way to finally save our state.
Rick Snyder for Michigan. He's one tough nerd.
From a self-described nerd to someone who is quickly becoming a household name. That's not bad for a man who completed 3 degrees at the University of Michigan by the time he was 23, worked his way to become a partner at Coopers & Lybrand, then became a high-ranking executive with Gateway Computers, and later returned to Ann Arbor to start up several venture capital and investment companies. Today, on our Sunday program, an in-depth interview with the WXYZ-TV Newsmaker of the Year. In 2010, Rick Snyder rose from political obscurity to become the governor-elect of Michigan on his first try for public office. It's Sunday, December the 26th. I'm Chuck Stokes, and this is a Spotlight on the News special. Governor-elect, thanks for sitting down with us. Not in Lansing, but in Ann Arbor, which is a good home for you here.
Yeah, it's been a great home, but I'm excited to get to Lansing. It's time to get to work.
Soon enough. Don't push it now. Don't push it. Governor-elect Snyder, thank you for sitting down with us today. How many times have you pinched yourself since November and said, I really am going to be the 48th governor of the state of Michigan?
Well, the interesting part, Chuck, is I really haven't pinched myself over this. It's just been a natural flow. Following through the campaign and the excitement of the campaign, which was just a fabulous experience, the opportunity to meet all these great people. But the way I view it is, it's all part of a process. So the way I've sort of done it is, it's not like I've achieved any end yet. It's just been a series of like checkpoints. We had the primary, we had the general election, we're doing the transition now, and then it's actually time to roll up our sleeves and to make things happen. So in a lot of ways, I don't really stop. It's just like, okay, we're in the flow. Let's just stay on target, stay on mission, let's get this done.
But you had to have reflected back on this campaign trail from where we first started in July of 2009, when you set out at Greenfield Village and said, I want to be the next governor of this state. Just think what the odds were against you.
Well, I know if you looked at if there would have been a betting line, I can tell you the odds would have been pretty high. But I had confidence. I mean, that's why I wanted to do this. Did you know it was going to happen? No. But is it clearly the right thing to do and to go after it? Absolutely. And your comment is good about going back to those days. It's been a tremendous personal growth experience for me. Just in terms of how I think I've improved and the opportunity of learning how to interact with people, getting out, interacting with our citizens, our voters, building those relationships, public speaking. It's come a long way in terms of that. I still think I'm getting better. I have room to grow.
Along the campaign trail, what do you think it was that really connected with the people? What was that pivotal moment? Was it the TV ads, the nerd ads?
Yeah, I'd probably put a couple from each phase. In the primary, I would say it was clearly the nerd ad, the Super Bowl ad, which was just fabulous. And the response from that was incredible. The other part that I would say in the primary that I really think got us on the path, and it wasn't just one event, it was the decision to start the town halls. And we did 70 of them through the course of the campaign or more. But it was starting to do the town halls, which were the opportunity to just go talk to real citizens, open to the public events, wide open for any kind of question people wanted to ask for largely an hour or longer of questions. That made a huge difference in the primary. And the other one I would say would be the town hall in Westland.
Right, where you invited
Where
Mayor
he
Venero
arrived to make a political point, and I invited him to the town hall, and we had a session. But I think that was a big
That was kind of an
event, too.
image-changing session there, wasn't it? It was. I think people thought that there would be real confrontation, but you were very gracious to come on in.
Well, that was part of, again, the whole intention of our campaign. It wasn't the traditional model of people going bang, bang, bang. It was an opportunity to say, hey, let's just have a free, open discussion and do it in a civilized fashion.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about the transition and the Snyder team, because all along the way, everybody kept saying, well, who's the team going to be? We don't know who the team is, but we now have a good idea of the team. From your perspective, what are you trying to do with this very interesting team of people that you put together, both Democrats and Republicans? What's the message there?
The message is it's all about getting results and building a team, about being inclusive. My whole message in many respects in this campaign is about Michiganders coming together and getting away from a lot of these traditional differences, to look towards the future. And so the way I viewed it, and I thought it was pretty clear about outlining what I was looking for, and I followed through on that, I believe, very well, which was to say, it didn't matter to me whether they were quote-unquote a Lansing person or a total outsider. The most important things was merit, to say these are just first-rate A-team kind of players, and they really believed in the vision that I outlined about starting the new era, the 10-point plan, and they also were great values people in terms of integrity, honesty, all those kind of things you want to see, because part of it is it's not just about me, it is about we, and the chemistry is great. I'm very excited about the team we've built.
How difficult was it to get Andy Dillon? Because that was the first really big appointment that sort of got everybody's eyes open and said, oh, this is going to be different.
Yeah, both Andy and Dick,
Right.
both of them. And we did them at the same time, and they were both great leaders. And for both of them, it required them to think out of the box. And I really appreciate them stepping up to say it was an opportunity for them, both of them had been great contributors to the state in their history. I mean, they both were at a point in their career where they could say, one being lieutenant governor and majority leader for all those years, another being Speaker of the House, to say they've given a lot to Michigan. And they both were on other paths to be able to enjoy life in some context, and to say they're both willing to come back to recognize this is a unique opportunity in time where they can make a difference as part of this team is just wonderful.
Governor, we're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we'll talk about something that you have been preaching about along this entire campaign trail, and that is reinventing the state of Michigan. Exactly how are you going to do that? We'll be right back. We hope you stay with us. You recently held a press conference with Governor Granholm to announce your economic transition team. Why was that important?
It was special in the opportunity to say we can come together. And it's not about talking about blame or who's done what to whom or who's taking credit for what. It's basically time for people to come together in our state and focus on the number one issue, which is jobs, and the need for more and better jobs in our state. And so I'm thankful for the governor for having the opportunity to do that together. And if you look at the people, she reappointed some people and appointed new people. I am going to appoint a number of people and announce some leadership. And it's a fabulous team.
We're still seeing a downward turn in terms of job creation in this state. What will be the magic to turning that around?
Yeah, well, one thing, it's not a magic turnaround. But it's a whole new atmosphere. Because one of the problems we've had in the state, whether you're talking about the government or other entities or other people or parts of our state, is there's too much fighting. This is, again, an opportunity to say it's time to solve problems. The need for tax reform. We got to get rid of the Michigan business tax and replace it with a flat 6% corporate net income tax. Regulatory reform. And then the whole focus of economic development is we need to do more focus on people here in Michigan and helping Michigan companies succeed, helping people start and grow small businesses in our state, and do less quote-unquote hunting about bringing big out-of-state companies here with big incentive packages.
So you're going to approach everything very much like a businessman and not like a politician.
Yeah, what I would say is business and government are different in the sense that there's no profit motive, but I believe there's a responsibility to show a positive return to our citizens in terms of showing that what we do can make a difference, a positive difference in their lives, and we need to do that. And the second piece of business that has got to come to government at all levels is we need to stop talking in Lansing about funding all the time. Because it's interesting, when I was even going through this process, people would say, well, can you help me get funding for this? Or I need this much in funding. That's the wrong question to ask. The question someone should be saying is, or the comment they need to make is, here's the outcome or result that we want to achieve and why it's going to make Michigan a better place and benefit Michiganders. And then you agree on that and you say, okay, now what funding is required or what resources are required to do that? That's the focus we need.
You're coming in with a mandate, and clearly the GOP has swept this state. Will that add any special pressure to you, or how will you use that to your advantage?
Well, the most important part is I believe we did get a mandate from the people to move forward to really reinvent Michigan. In that context, how the election turned out in terms of having both chambers be GOP, hopefully that gives the opportunity to move in a very efficient and cohesive fashion. But the part is I don't view it as just one party leading our government. I really do want to have it so the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, the people from both chambers are looking upon this as the right things to do for Michigan. The second thing I would say to you, Chuck, that I want to send this message strongly across the state is the comeback of Michigan is just not what the government's going to do. It's actually asking the people of Michigan, whether they be in a business, a nonprofit, just in their household, to also take this new approach, to also get more involved, to help do mentorship, to do other things, because it's not about the government solving everyone's issue. It's about the government helping be a catalyst and the government being a catalyst to say it's time for Michiganders, and we all have a role and a responsibility to make us great again, and let's do it as this large team of 10 million people, not just 150 in Lansing in terms of the House, the Senate, some of the government people, or a bigger number than that. Let's get all 10 million involved.
You've got a brand new legislature coming in. How will you work with them?
In a very open fashion. Again, that's where it's interesting as I went through the campaign and now I'm in the transition. Quite often people are trying to say, okay, now what do you really mean? It's like, what motives do you really have for doing this? And the nice part, the beauty of this, that we've been talking for a long time, going back to the announcement at the Henry Ford, is I've said the same thing the entire time. This is not about my resume. This is not about the future of Rick Snyder. This is about reinventing our state. So here's a clear, positive vision, here's a plan, and here's an attitude, a culture of success. Let's go. And I want them to feel good. I want them to feel that they're contributors. They're making a difference, and they should be happy to take credit for reinventing Michigan, whether you're a legislator or whether you're one of those citizens out doing those things we're going to ask for help on.
Governor, we need to take another quick commercial break, and when we come back, I want to talk to you about technology. We'll be right back with Governor-elect Rick Snyder. How important is technology in trying to reinvent Michigan, and how exactly will you use that?
Well, part of it is being a good role model. And just by doing it already, you set a good path of success. The other one is when you talk about entrepreneurs and young people and how to get them involved in the process to look at doing that is getting them to realize it's a lifelong path and to build the right tools and not to avoid risk, but to manage risk. And that's one of the issues we've had in the state is we've gotten in this risk avoidance question about saying we can't do that. Something may not go right, rather than saying let's move forward, understanding that we need to keep up with the world and where it's going. And the best way to succeed is to actually move forward, understanding we're going to run into curveballs and different things we didn't expect, and here's how you address them. And that's the kind of role model I've hopefully been in Ann Arbor about giving advice to a lot of these young entrepreneurs and startup companies, helping create Ann Arbor Spark that now can institutionalize it and send that message to many others. But there's other places around the state. Techtown's done a good job, Automation Alley, The Right Place, Southwest Michigan First. I mean, we need to get better organized. We've got all these tools. We just need to communicate and talk better together and then pass that down to people.
What approach will you be taking with the MEDC? Certainly there are people in this state who believe as though it has not been helpful, but you don't believe that, right?
No. I think the MEDC is the right model, and a couple of key things we're going to do in terms of repositioning its focus to some degree. One is focus much more on Michigan companies and Michigan entrepreneurship and innovation. As opposed to, again, looking to go abroad or bring things in. We'll still be part of that process, but I want more focus on helping people succeed right here. Small businesses and other businesses. Because you think about it, if you take a business model again, any challenge business, if you're challenged in your business on the customer front, should you spend your time making sure your current customers are the happiest, most successful, or do you go after new customers? Every single person will tell you, you'll always spend your time making sure your current customers are the happiest, most successful. So that needs to happen. The other thing I want to do is we were talking a little bit earlier about all these regional entities that are very strong, good entities, but they're not connected as well. So in many respects, I want the MEDC to be less trying to do everything than empowering these regional groups to actually have more responsibility to do more and make the MEDC the clearinghouse, the best practice center, and a place to promote this positive culture about how we work together and then represent us well across the nation with respect to the whole state.
The inauguration is coming up. What tone do you want to set?
One of a bright future. One of to say, here is the vision for Michigan's future, the era of innovation. And the other part is to bring the cultural piece together. It is time for a new culture in our state. It is a time to be positive instead of negative. It is a time to look forward instead of backward. It is time to be inclusive instead of divisive. We've got all these opportunities. We've gone through some terrible times. The first, foremost thing we need to do is get our act together among ourselves in this positive, forward-looking way. And the other thing is to bring a sense of urgency. We are in a crisis. And I am going to bring an attitude to crisis to Lansing. And it's not a crisis of panic. It's a crisis of determination. Because we've been in a crisis so long, we don't act like it's a crisis. Let's recognize what it is. Let's get our act together. Let's get focused, and let's get things done. That's where I'm excited.
Governor-elect, do you have a special New Year's resolution?
Well, I think just becoming governor and reinventing Michigan is a big enough resolution. Beyond that, I might be losing some weight. The campaign hasn't been a healthy thing.
That's been resolution enough.
Well, there's some personal things I could improve on as part of that process, because campaign life was not a high quality of life either in terms of diet or exercise.
Eating too much fast food stuff there.
Well, one of the comments I like to have on the campaign trail is I got excited when I got silverware.
So that makes a huge difference. That makes a huge difference. Finally, just on the very light side, you're going to do your inauguration outside. Not sure what the weather is going to be, so you're obviously a brave person just to even take that risk. And you've got this trademark of, not having a tie, being casual. It has become the Rick Snyder look, and it's become very trendy. Have you thought about what you're going to wear on Inauguration Day?
Well, I'm keeping some mystery going here. We got to keep this trend up. So, no, I will have an overcoat, though. I've actually, the fun part is I've gotten a number of email and comments from people who say, remember William Henry Harrison. And wear your overcoat so you don't get pneumonia. We want you longer than 30 or 40 days.
You've reached out to some former Michigan governors. Can you share with us what advice they've given you?
Well, no, I just appreciate them sharing their time, because a lot of it is why recreate the wheel? I mean, there's great experience, and we've had some great governors in Michigan's history. So I appreciate them sharing their thoughts. The other one is it's been good to talk to governors from other states, and actually some have been very good about sharing their thoughts. But what I would say, though, is it's not just doing things the same old way. This is I would argue, among the most challenging times in Michigan's history. And to do things the traditional way is not good enough. And so that's why on the campaign trail I made it clear to people, fixing Michigan is not good enough. I shared with you the document that I was showing that showed our employment growth and how we were 50. Our goal here is not to become 47 or to be 45. We have got to take the attitude, let's aim for the top. And so let's do everything possible to say what's best practice in the country and the world and get there as fast as possible and do it in this positive way, because that's the energy that's going to bring us back. And that is our opportunity. And people are ready for it in the state. Everyone is ready to go. We just need to get out of the inertia mode and get in the fast forward mode.
What's the biggest obstacle to you achieving your goals?
Well, the biggest obstacle are people finally getting over that thing to saying it sounds really good, let's hit the gas. So it's really people deciding to move out of neutral into forward, collectively, as a society. Changing a culture is harder than changing any single law or changing any other particular practice. And what I'm asking people to do is literally say, we need a new culture in our state, as we were talking about, being positive, forward-looking, inclusive. I believe all of us recognize that's the right thing to do. It's that challenge to say, okay, I agree with you, but now I have to act that way. And so what I'm asking people to do, and a lot of people are already starting to do this, that's been part of the excitement, is the response already from people, is it's interesting. There's a paradox going on already. I've had people come up, one group of people come up and they say, be bold. You've got to be bold. This is the best time to be bold. Then I have another group who will come up and say, you're setting expectations too high. This is dangerous. People have very high expectations. And the interesting part is, when I say that's a paradox, it's the same people.
Is that right?
Yeah. They'll say be bold one moment, and they'll say you're setting expectations too high the next. And some people would say, well, what does that mean? To me, it means we're doing the right thing. It means people are ready to go. And we just need to start showing some real successes in the early days of January and February. And if we can show some real success in that time frame, that's how you start that momentum building, where people will really move from that point of saying, God, I really hope it happens, to saying, I believe.
Our special thanks to our newsmaker this year for sitting down with us on such short notice. I'm Chuck Stokes. We'll be back next week with more newsmakers in the spotlight. We hope you have a good week.